It transpires that oftentimes a grumpy, maudlin video, as I posted yesterday, although when I eventually post this, I don't know what date that will be, folk get concerned. Now, I can't deal with concern. I can't deal with any sort of idea that I've made somebody worry. It's part of being northern. I also can't deal with the fact that you can't see any of my hair, so it looks like I could be a tiny bit lacking in that department under this hat. So let's fix that. The air was a mess this morning is all I can say. And it's also a day of rest for my hair. You know, I shower one day, and on my days off work I like to give it some time to breathe. Or, you know, at least not have so much product and stuff thrown at it, just allow it to kind of rest, recuperate. And what better day to do that on a Sunday? So anyway, after this video that I uploaded, it was a wool gathering video. I was grumpy, I was sad, I'd, learned a lot of disheartening information over the last week. And I just wasn't happy. It also happened that I just arrived at work and maybe it was because I hadn't had a good night's sleep, maybe because other people commented saying they weren't having the best time at the moment either, maybe there is some truth about moon cycles and stuff, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, I'm not an astrologist, and if you ask me anything about astronomy, well, I'm still not over the fact that Pluto isn't a planet anymore, and the discovery that there's actually over 200 documented planets or something still blows my mind. I still haven't yet got over the idea that before the universe, what was there? What was nothing? What does nothing look like? I'm also making this video after 2 rather large cups of coffee, but that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today, so let's go straight into this. This video is going to be actually talking about the things that have brought me joy or made me happy over the last few weeks or so, and these are going to be rather small, inconsequential things because I am all about finding the happiness and being content with the small things, because oftentimes big things actually cost a lot of money, so it's all about finding things that are cheap. And here we have a coffee that I purchased from TK Maxx and me and my mother are enjoying. It's a Jamaican blend. I don't believe it is actually Jamaica. I don't believe it's ever seen Jamaica or that part of the world, but it is supposed to have notes of rum, caramel and vanilla. It's actually just what they called Santa's favourite tipple from a couple of years ago, which is supposedly rum, but they've repackaged it for those months when it's not Christmas. However, because of that, it put me in this almost festive mood because it's available in September. Now we know that I appreciate the festive season that will be approaching in a few months. And for me, it is still too early to be seeing all of the things in the shop, but I am appreciating seeing the things in the shop as well. Anyway, that coffee, as I say, I appreciate the idea and the fact that it brings some nostalgia for me for that festive season, and I like it. I do also kind of enjoy going to TK Maxx and seeing what weird coffees they've got in. I'm aware it's all artificially flavoured and it's probably bad for you, but I'm poor. I've had a lot of artificial flavours and preservatives over the years, so what can you do? I am also, appreciating the fact that people are still advertising the upcoming festive season for a particular reason, because to me that emphasises a part of the year as though people are still going through this with some sort of sense of normality. And I'm not going to mention any more bleaker topics here, so we'll have to go into them at another point. But the idea that people are still trying to keep this sense of normality and maybe perhaps even the mundanity makes me somewhat happy, which is weird because people notoriously make me unhappy. And I'd say that people are still continuing to do that, but hey. Let's go with something else. Victoria Wood is still around. I mean, her works are still around. And I have this book, and I'm still not sure whether I want to read this book and then watch the actual, you know, thing, the plays that they are, because this came first. This was just published afterwards to make more money. But I do like going and reading Victoria Wood because, and this is something I try and emulate through punctuation in my own writing, is when you look at the way that Victoria Wood crafts things, she writes them with a certain musicality to it. And it's all in the way things, the humour is often in the way things are said. If you said the sentences without any sort of intonation or tone, then it would just be bland and bleak. But examining the way she structures sentences as a writer is always fun. I also have Acorn Antiques. This is because we didn't have a copy of Acorn Antiques the musical at the shop, and whilst I wasn't the biggest fan of seeing this in the As Seen on TV series, it is something that I've watched. Also, you can watch the sequel, The Hotel, on YouTube. I also have Dinner Ladies. Now, if I'm in a particularly sad mood, I just go straight to the series to episode Fog, and then I watch that straight through until the Manalium episode, and then I switch off. And if I'm just being standard depressing old Charlie, I will just watch this all the time. I still feel sorry for my grandmother that I used to put this on every single night when I was staying at her house, because the second series is 5 hours, and I would watch all 5 hours every single day. And sometimes, and take note of this, it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I started getting some of the jokes. Such as in series 2, they're talking about the fact that Jean says she and Barry had sex twice last night during the 9 o'clock news, and Dolly says perhaps it was specially extended. That joke went over my head as a child. Why are the dogs barking? Why are the dogs barking? Why are the dogs barking? If it's because my mother's moved, well, curtains is all I can say. Another thing that has made me happy, which makes no sense, is Rachel Cusk. Now this one makes no sense to me because Rachel Cusk is writing books that I should not enjoy. And that is because I am a huge fan of plot. I have previously maligned books on this channel and had to go at them because they were plotless and I needed some plot. Like, great writing, evocative writing did nothing for me. And it was something I noticed reading Outline, it's almost like a sitcom in these books, minus the comedy. And I'm specifically talking about the Outline trilogy here. Each one of these books sees the protagonist, Faye, conversing with people, and all Kusk has done is she has taken the conversations that Faye has had with these characters, and it becomes this series of monologues on a topic, examining that topic. And it's one of those where part of me was thinking, why isn't this an essay collection? And I know that Kusk has written non-fiction as well. And then I had this revelation, which wasn't a revelation, that it is very situational without the comedy. You know, where you'd have, let's say Miranda. Let's look at Miranda as a sitcom where you have your one central character getting into different scrapes. And here, each book is on a different topic. So here we have divorce, here we have parenthood, and here we have divorce, parenthood, and also what it means to be an author and what it means to create. And in each of these books, Kusk is just examining a topic. I will say that Transit was my favourite because this one was especially mundane, and I think that Kusk manages to capture the mundanity of life very well. I saw it in Arlington Park, and that was a book that I particularly enjoyed because to me it felt like Motherland, again without the comedy. but I think that Kusk manages to capture the mundane really well and examine it somewhat. And so Transit was my favourite of this trilogy. I'm very glad to have read it. I'm very glad to be continuing to read Rachel Kusk, and she is the writer who, when I find her books, I'm probably going to read all of them. And I don't know what it is about this plotless, almost structureless idea where you don't really have a climax or any sort of resolution. Kusk just throws everything at you, but I suppose she does it in a measured way. Like, she leads you towards a certain way of thinking. She helps you examine every topic she is talking about and leaves it up to you to make a decision. But also, she is writing fiction, so it's almost like Faye is taking on the role of conduit. She sits there and she is receptive to other people's stories, and she as a narrator is unimportant, which almost feels like actually emphasising the death of the writer in fiction. But yeah, very happy to have read these books. Very happy to have gone to Bakewell and just sat on a bench and read this for about an hour. And that was also nice, you know, sat on an autumnal day where it was starting to warm up and just reading whilst the world went by around us. I was also very happy to have found a bench to sit on and do that. And also, you know, not to get attacked by a goose. That was fun. I'm very happy about this shirt because it's autumnal colours and it makes me feel all autumnal. And the only thing is, and I'll say this, we're getting a lot of this print in the shop. I don't know what we call it, but I always feel like some sort of lumberjack with this print. I had it in the blue, I've got it in the pink, I've got red and blue, which I thought looked Christmassy, but I just feel like a giant flaming ribbon sometimes wearing this, but I like the colours. And I've never had anything this colour before. And if you didn't know, like this, well, orange is a favourite colour of mine. And this has orange and blue and apparently green and red, and yeah, I don't understand it. I feel like a picnic blanket sometimes, but I do like this shirt. And I thought it was autumnal. And do you know me? I like the coming of autumn as well, which just feels like a particularly bookish person thing. I appreciate all the seasons for the different things that they bring, but I'm particularly looking forward to jumpers. Today I'm doing a big wash of jumpers. I take every single jumper out of my wardrobe because my wardrobe doesn't have doors and they get very dusty, and I wash them all. And that's what's happening today. So you can expect to see more variation in what I'm wearing on this channel soon, because my jumpers are being washed. I'm also appreciating getting to just sit and read again. For so much of the year, I haven't been reading much, and there's something there where I'm not reading for hours and hours and really long stretches at a time, but I'm very surprised by the amount I have managed to get read this month just by taking an hour or two at the end of the day and sitting down and saying, well, this is the time to read. And ordinarily, I'd have been switching on another episode of Family Guy that's on ITV2 that I've seen thousands of times before and just kind of decomposing. And, you know, I like decomposing, decompressing. Never got that word. And I don't mind that, but just sitting there and getting a book read has been quite nice. In YouTube, Booktube, people are still vlogging, and I will say that has become the part of Booktube that I have liked more at the moment is vlogs. I don't know what it is about them, but watching other people's vlogs has been somewhat joyous for me. There's some content that I still avoid, and I don't know why. I'm not going to go into specifics, but vlogs. especially well, there's some new YouTubers that I found this year. So is it Anna Wallace-Johnson and Rebecca Eats Books, CJ Reads? Are they the three? And Ben Green? Are they the three? There's four there. I can't count at this time of day after 2 cups of coffee. Everything feels very alert. Well, I feel alert. I'm also quite looking forward to getting winter bags out at work, because this is in relation to jumpers, because it means that I'll be getting to see more jumpers and I might buy more. I don't know that I can buy more. I'm having to separate today's jumper load into 2 separate loads in the washing machine because I have too many, but I also don't feel like I can ever have enough. And some of them are even the same colour. I have a lot of red jumpers. I bought a red and blue. They're the colours I go to. Maybe if I started exploring different colours, I could warrant getting more jumpers. What do we think? I don't think I could ever cope with a grey. Grey just isn't for me. But what sort of colours should we go for this year? We have a green. It's a dark green. I tend to go for the darker shades. I'm not one for bright shades. I wasn't built to be bright. Well, you're not in the north of England. There's too much smog. Oh, and walks. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to hold back a sneeze. Walks. Over the last few weeks, I've tended to stick to the same walk. If you didn't know, it's just down the canal and back. But I like it. We did a bit of further exploration this week where you go off the path and around, and we stopped because we didn't know where it was going to lead us and the grass was overgrown. I want to get back up to Mac Forest. Me and my sister went to Tegsnow's again a few weeks ago, as we talked about no jam, marmalade and cream, no thanks. And I want to do some more proper walks. Me and my sister were chatting again, and we were saying last year we did tons of walks. We were walking all the time, but both of us, she's moved out and I'm still here, and we don't have that time that we did during certain moments where she could just say to me, shall we go for this walk, do you want to join me? And because she's about an hour away now, so for her to come here is another hour, and then to drive up there, it just takes too much time. But there are places we want to go and see. I'd love to get back to Lud's Church again. Is there anything else I've enjoyed? I've enjoyed going out with people from work again. You know, we just go to a bar across the road from work. We share a few drinks together. Not regularly, it's like every couple of months. But that's nice. And people can be good sometimes. And despite the dog barking, I'm also particularly glad that she exists. Although she's developed this thing of coming into my bed at about 3 o'clock in the morning. She'd stay in my bed all the time if she could. But I don't particularly... I'm not one of these to... Oh, she's outside the door now. When we got this dog, I said, she's not sleeping in the bed like the last one. Well, she wasn't. She was coming and she was having about an hour in the morning whilst I tried to wake up, dragged myself out of the depths of dream. And now it's getting earlier and earlier, and I can't stop her. She sits outside my door scratching and whining, and you can't have that going on when you've got a brother who has to be up for work at 5. So I'm all right. She's here, you know. Anyway, the point of this video, the reason for this was because I don't want it to be left for people to think that I am dwelling on the more disheartening things in life. I want people to recognise that yes, I am able to appreciate that there are good things going on. and this was just a list of things that have made me happy recently. All those musicians that I shared yesterday, one of the things that I'm really enjoying is sometimes when I get in from work and I'm feeling particularly tired and I can't read and I can't settle to watch anything, it's just going through the songs that I like and listening to them. They inspire me to create. They inspire me to maybe think about writing lyrics again, even though I'm not a musician. They have me reminiscing and not reminiscing and dwelling and thinking that this was a bad thing, reminiscing and thinking these are experiences we all have. And, you know, I dislike how we are so quick to tear people down. So I like to go and show support by watching and streaming these things, because I think the more we do so, the more support we show, whether or not these people will ever know who you are. And I thought this was a good video to put out, just to say what is bringing you joy at the moment. Even just something small. Just think of something small and tiny and supposedly insignificant to anyone else. I know it seems somewhat quaint and somewhat silly sometimes, but it doesn't do to dwell on the things of which we have no control. So whilst everything I talked about in my previous Woolgathering video, where I was feeling disheartened and maudlin and grumpy, whilst those emotions are all valid and I don't get annoyed with myself for sharing them, I do get annoyed with the part of myself that maybe perhaps caused people to worry. And it's why I've recorded tons of Woolgathering videos that have never seen the light of day. When I made that video yesterday, I didn't think about the facts that it might have caused people to concern, because I forget. So I suppose I should say that I appreciate people for being concerned, even if I forget that they exist at times. And not exist is like, I'm aware that they're there, but I think I neglect to think about the way other people will perceive the way that I am talking, and perhaps think that this one video is representative of the way I'm feeling for the entirety of the day. So that video's out there. Please do tell me what brought you joy today. Think of a small thing. Indeed, why not make a video of this yourself? Let's talk about what other people may find insignificant, but we find particularly is small but makes us happy. I have a fork that I like to eat my tea with in an evening, and can seem inconsequential, but somehow that fork improves a meal. It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. But remember, the little things can sometimes be the most important. Anyway, I hope that you got something out of this video, even if it was sheer boredom, even if you thought that Charlie was clearly going through some sort of midlife crisis. Do let me know how you're feeling in the comments. And until next time, well, that is all.